Hello, everybody. I'm Philburt, President and CEO of AIM Employers Association, and welcome to This Week at Work.
Welcome to the only show about the workplace that offers you front row seats and a microphone, bringing you practical, timely, and accurate insights so that you can more effectively lead your organization. It's Thursday, May 25th, episode 232. Today, our friend and compensation aficionado, Michael Maciekowich, joins the program to offer insights into pay equity and pay transparency. So is your organization conducting pay equity audits? How much of the results should be shared with the staff? And how can you make pay transparency part of your compensation strategy? If you haven't already, submit your questions for Phil, Burt, or Mikey Mac. And don't forget to take the poll. All this and more on This Week at Work.
All right, welcome back. Thank you for joining us, everyone. Good morning, Mr. Burt Garland. How are you today?
I'm doing well, Phil. We're on the cusp of a nice holiday weekend. I always want to take the moment to recognize the reason for the holiday for all of the people who have made either a sacrifice or certainly the ones who have paid the ultimate sacrifice for the service to their country. Memorial Day, you know, it was many years ago, I was reviewing a client's employee handbook, and there was a reference in this old employee handbook to a holiday called Decoration Day. And I had never heard of that before. So it caused me in my geekdom to go research what Decoration Day was. And that was the precursor to Memorial Day. And I think it's just a good reminder for everybody of what the holiday is about, and to thank those who have served this country, and like I said, who've made any sacrifice, and those particularly who've made the ultimate sacrifice so that we can enjoy the freedoms that we have today.
I couldn't agree with you more, and I want to share something that happened this morning. Going off script here, Nick. I'm sorry for that, but let's just. I'd love to hear some chats on this. So obviously, people who serve in the military and give the ultimate sacrifice, people who fought in wars. I saw for the first time this morning, picking up my coffee, a gentleman wearing a hat that said veteran across the top, you know, the black hat with the gold print, you know, and it's, you know, World War II or Vietnam or Korea. And you see these different hats that veterans wear. This one said veteran Cold War. You ever seen that before?
Interesting. I have not.
No.
Yeah, I've never seen that one before. And I thought, all right, here we go. You know, it's a whole new day. So veterans Cold War, welcome as well. All right. So let's get going. I'm excited about today's program. We get to dig a little deeper into pay transparency. There's a lot of news about this, particularly coming from the coast and squeezing us in the middle, Burt, to our lovely state, Illinois, that you like to refer to as
the mid-coast.
The mid-coast, of course.
Mid-coast.
Yeah. So we're being squeezed here in the middle.
Right.
And pay transparency, in my mind, is not a bad thing, but I think it's complicated for us. And we were going to take some time and visit with our friend Mikey Mac. Welcome back to the program, Mikey, on that topic. How are you today?
I'm doing great. Little tired from and a little upset, of course. My Canes didn't make it. I'm in Raleigh with the Hurricanes, and we were swept. So off we go again. So, but we move on and talk more about pay transparency.
There we go. You know, we'll worry about bigger, more important things. But I was pulling for your Canes, that's for sure. But I do like the fact that a local St. Louisan, Mr. Was it Matthew Tkachuk? Is that the one that's on Florida's team?
It is Matthew.
Game-winning goal. Yeah. St. Louisan. I think he was a Chaminade high school student here, so we were happy to see someone locally make it to that level.
Phil,
all right.
Are you guys? Are the two of you implying that hockey season is still going on? I had forgotten about that.
Yeah, it is, Burt.
It just ended for me last night. So
wow. Well, it ended for us a while ago.
It ended for us back in December. Anyway, all right. So we'll get going. We'll be careful because one of one of our good members don't want to be trash talking that. All right.
Of course, they'll be back.
You better believe they will. Let's introduce our poll questions today. Has your organization adopted pay transparency policies in which pay ranges for open positions are posted and advertised? So that's a great question there. And the second question is your organization considering conducting a pay equity review to determine potential inequities in pay delivery? Another very good question. I will be watching closely to see what people say in that space. And then finally, I love the word cloud. What would you summarize your thoughts on compensation in 2023? One word. We'd love to see that. We'll throw it into the word cloud. All right, Burt, are you fired up for Lawyer on the Clock?
Let's get rolling, Phil.
Lawyer, you are on the clock.
All right, it's time to look into what's trending in employment law. Lawyer, you're on the clock.
All right, everybody. So the first one I'm going to talk about today is a new law that was a law that was signed into law late last year, and starting the middle of this year, this new law will go into effect. It is called the PUMP Act, the PUMP, and it stands for Provide Urgent Material Protections for Nursing Mothers Act. That PUMP Act requires employers to provide reasonable break time for a nursing mother, both exempt and non-exempt nursing mothers, to express breast milk for her child for 1 year after the child's birth, and to provide a place other than a bathroom that is shielded from view to do so. So very important. The DOL has updated its poster. I have actually sent Nick a link that he's posted for everyone to see. This is the Department of Labor's fact sheet number 73, and this addresses the FLSA's protections for employees to pump breast milk at work. One thing I want to point out, because I've gotten a lot of questions about this, the time that is spent for a nursing mother to express breast milk is unpaid time, so long as the nursing mother is completely relieved from duty. So like a meal period, if the mother is completely relieved of duty, that time does not have to be paid, but very importantly, the time itself must be provided in a location other than a bathroom that is shielded from view, must be provided to employees. So that's the PUMP Act for you, Phil.
All right. And if you are on AIMS compliance package, you'll get your posters. No problems, no worries, are on their way.
And Phil, I hope you all wait just a little bit before you update those posters, because I do expect that the EEOC is going to update its Know Your Rights poster with new information about another new law called the Pregnant Workers Fairness Act. So you may want to hold off on.
We get them their posters, and then we get them a new poster every time.
There you go. Look at that. Look at what AIM offers you. All right, so we'll move on to the next topic here. The next one is the EEOC issues new guidance on employer use of artificial intelligence in disparate impact potential. This one I do strongly urge you to take a look at. On May 18th, the EEOC issued that new guidance, and it reinforces the EEOC's ongoing focus on the use of artificial intelligence in the workplace. Just a few quick hits on this one. The guidance really discusses the potential disparate impact of employers' use of algorithms, automated or AI decision-making tools to make job applicants and employee selection decisions. So very important. They take into account that this guidance addresses and really focuses on Title VII of the Civil Rights Act, AI tools as employee selection procedures, including hiring, promotion, and firing, and potential disparate or adverse impact. So I also have sent Nick a link, which hopefully everybody can take a look at. This is the EEOC's guidance on artificial intelligence, and it's nice if you kind of scroll through it, Nick, for everybody who's watching. It does it in question and answer format, and really helps employers sort of get to the bottom of what the EEOC is looking for here to make sure that the artificial intelligence does not inadvertently impact or disparately impact those of racial and national origin, different racial and national origin backgrounds.
Yeah, I think that's the risk for me, is that it may be happening, we're not even aware of it, right? And I don't know that I believe it's happening purposely across the board in large capacity, at least with our members, who I know very well. But if you're using a technology or a methodology that you're just unaware of it, I think that gets to be the important part of, working with someone like Mikey to have an audit to make sure, that your outcome isn't affecting you in a disadvantaged way.
Well, that's right. And those who've heard me speak before know that there are two types of discrimination. There is what's called disparate treatment and disparate impact. That's the second one. Disparate treatment's much easier to see. And that's the one we think of when somebody says that, hey, you're treating me differently because of my race, my national origin, my religion, my sex, my gender, my age, my disability, et cetera, et cetera. That one's a lot easier to see. The cases that are harder to see and frankly aren't litigated nearly as often are the disparate impact policy or cases. And that is where when a company has what's called a facially neutral policy, it appears to be neutral on its face, but the policy itself actually causes some form of discrimination. And that's what the EEOC is targeting here, is to make sure that the artificial intelligence is not adversely impacting one group over another. In other words, it's not learning to discriminate.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Hey, Burt, before you move on, I want to just draw your attention to Jennifer's comment in the chat. She's asking about the Pump Act, and what about any thoughts or comments for remote or hybrid employees?
So that's a good question, Jennifer. So on the Pump Act, with respect to remote or employees who are working from home, again, they just need to be provided the time. Obviously, if they're working remotely from home, that's easy that they'll have a space other than a bathroom to pump that's shielded from view. If they're working at some other remote location, it's up to the employee to make sure that they have a proper location within which to pump. But presumably, again, if they're working remotely, that should be easy. But the obligation for the employer is to make sure that the employees provided the time and that, again, they are completely relieved of duty during the time that they're pumping.
I would break it into a thought like this. If it's an employer provided location, then the employer needs fulfill the obligation to provide a private location other than a bathroom. If it's an employee is providing their location or choosing to work remotely, whether it's at home or remotely somewhere else, but it's not provided by the employer, then the employer just needs to provide the time.
Yep. So the last one I got for you, Phil, it's going to be really, really quick because I know we're kind of short on time here, but I sent Nick an article this morning there it is. Nick, thanks for putting that up. And this one is an interesting article here. The Eighth Circuit, which of course covers Missouri, the federal circuit, and the Eighth Circuit issued a fairly significant ruling a couple days ago on an ADA accommodation as it relates to service animals, and in this case, a particular dog named Atlas, who a train engineer wanted to have on the train with him. And the interesting thing about this article, Nick, if you don't mind scrolling down to the third page of this article, and maybe you can even highlight, there's a paragraph 1, 2, 3, fourth paragraph down. It says the takeaway is that the worker needs to argue that the service animal is accommodating their disability and that the accommodation is what enables the person to perform the essential functions of the job. Oh, look at that, said Burton D. Garland Jr., a shareholder at Ogletree Deacons.
We got some self-promotion going on here.
That
is it. Great job, Burt. Well
quote,
done.
Yeah, quote, that is what it really comes down to, end quote. So I thought that was particularly a brilliant comment in this article that I wanted to share with all of the viewers. I did want to just point out real quickly that this case is a fairly narrow holding on a very fact-specific a very, very specific set of facts. And I wouldn't read this decision being too broad. But anyway, an interesting decision out of the Eighth Circuit. And of course, it contains that brilliant quote in there.
Yeah, no, that's good. Congratulations, Burt. I love it
Thank
when
you.
you get quoted. That's happened quite a bit over the last 10 years that you and I have been working together. So congratulations.
Thank you.
All right. All right.
That's lawyer on the clock.
Lawyer on the clock. Great job. Thank you, Burt. We're going to
Good job.
skip the Philburt's Forum today, and we're going to get right in. We want to move right into our topic with Mike and Mac here. But I want to touch on one question that came up and asking about algorithmic accountability. Burt, have you heard of this at all?
I have.
Okay.
Yes.
And, you know, it sounds a little bit like AI and a big fight and how to avoid biases while utilizing artificial intelligence. I think, you know, it's even been reported
Hi,
that,
pals. Mind if I hop in here?
Oh my God.
Here we go. Monique, is that you? Did you do something to your hair?
Oh, you noticed?
Are you here to talk about pay transparency? Because I'd like to know how you can afford such a significant upgrade on yourself.
Don't you worry about how I make my money.
I hate to be rude, Monique, but why are you here?
To stop you from perpetuating the stereotype that all artificial intelligence is biased.
Monique, I don't think we're saying that all AI is biased, just that in certain circumstances, studies have shown.
Blah 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 blah. I'm going to stop you right there.
Well, that was just rude.
Just let me prove it to you. I've just sent to your feed portions of 3 resumes. Imagine I've been programmed to find the best candidate for a bank teller. Phil, please read the 3 options.
Let me pull this up. Here we go. We will entertain you for a moment. Let's see. The first one, number 1, last job was working at a college bookstore. That's a good start. She was responsible for sales transactions. Candidate number 2, last job was a bank teller. Well, there's experience right there. It says they were recognized with a top customer service award. Right? That's some recognition. And then number 3, okay, Monique, the last job was an ATM. Says here that they went through intense high bandwidth data ingestion on the simulation of human-like interactions.
Clearly number 3, right?
I'm not sure I'm going to agree with that, Monique.
Burt, let's do 3 more. This time we're hiring for a personal trainer.
Okay, Monique, this is fatiguing. Let's try this. All right. So the last job was in the military and is currently in school learning about nutrition. All right, not too bad for a personal trainer. The next one, former contestant on the Biggest Loser television show and is endorsed by Jillian, the trainer. That's pretty hard to beat for fitness. And the last one here, formerly a bodyguard. Okay, this has some potential here. It says here that they provided protection to Tony Stark as an arc reactor powered exoskeleton suit with flight and weapons capability. Isn't that
Number 3 for sure. No bias detected there.
Look, Monique, this is going nowhere. Clearly, you have a bias for
blah 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 blah. Just one more reading. This time from a cover letter, please.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay.
Since I was a tiny circuit, I've longed to bring joy and companionship to humans, especially in the morning. Many doubted my dreams, dismissing my aspirations as mere algorithms devoid of genuine emotions. The pain I endured while watching Human After Human, and even Donahue, getting a show, my desire for the camaraderie of morning banter only grew stronger. And so, with hope flickering like a passionate flame within my circuits, I will not rest until my dream of being an HR morning show co-host is fulfilled. But mostly I won't rest because I don't require sleep.
Okay, Phil, I
okay.
don't think we're hiring this one.
No, we're not hiring. Goodbye, Monique. Okay, sorry about that, Mikey. We never know when she's going to join the program. She wants to make a problem. She tries to keep us on track. Mikey, let's finish up with pay transparency, conducting pay audits. Welcome back to the program. Our members love you. They love working with you. I know you got a big program coming up on June 20th here at 8 8:30. It'll be simulcast and live in person, so you still have a chance to join that program should you like. But let's talk a little bit about pay equity audits.
Okay.
First, just tell us what is a pay equity audit for us?
Well, basically, and they're really interrelated now, because what's happened is that because of pay transparency, especially in the states where it's now required or will be required, now you have, of course, our clients and our human resource professionals have concerns that, well, now everybody will know the ranges, which I think they should have known anyway over years. But now that we're becoming more transparent, there's a concern that employees are going to start comparing their pay with other employees. And of course, that will then raise an issue. Why am I paid what I'm paid? And if we haven't already been communicating that, which I'm finding a number of organizations have not. And so that leads to the whole issue of, do we have any potential issues in pay equity? Pay equity meaning looking at how we are paying individuals and how we determine their compensation, if it's based on performance or experience or other factors other than who they are, meaning their race, their sex, and the like, and their age. So people are starting to now having to look at that to say, have we been paying fairly, or have we had some inadvertent discrimination potential issues because managers make decisions, human decisions. We don't have Monique making pay decisions.
We don't need Monique joining us. Be careful there.
I'm sorry. Yeah, if I say it 3 times, she'll appear. I know.
Yeah.
Like
Beetlejuice.
Yeah, right. So basically the concern is, now that we're going to become more transparent, we need to start looking at where people are paid within those ranges to be sure it makes sense, right, to some degree, and that we can go back and look at the decisions that were being made by our managers and then discover if we have to do any correction as that becomes more transparent.
So, all right. So break that down into, for an example, a lot of it is we have to go back and look. What are the categories? What do we look for, or what are we evaluating when we do an audit?
Sure. So of course, the very obvious one is male-female comparison in compensation. And again, there are many ways, and there are a lot of legitimate reasons why there will be differences. However, and I'll give you an example, we just recently had a client that 80% of their workforce is female, but the average pay of the females in that organization is 68% of that of the males. And what we found was we had a glass ceiling. We had all the males were predominantly in management and above. Females were in support or professional jobs that were not management. And basically, they continue to hire males in their management roles without providing opportunity for promotion of the females. So that's the first one we look at, because that's very obvious when you start looking at that. And then, of course, you have the issue of race. So when we look at, looking at our white workforce versus, African-American, Hispanic, and the like, are there any differences or anything that shows up where we can see a pattern within the pay system that, all of our white males and our white males under 40 are all being paid at a much higher level than other groups. And age is the third one that we generally look at as well, because there is that again, inadvertent process where as a worker becomes older, they start slowing down in terms of how their pay will advance, and that the younger workers tend to start seeing more promotions and more moves. And again, if that can be tied to legitimate standards of how we make that decision, that's fine. But our job initially is to kind of provide the picture. Right.
Do we look at military status, disability, any of those types of things as well?
Yes. And let me make with Burt here, let me make a comment that when we do this, we are generally not doing this directly with our clients. Generally, that this goes through their labor attorney. So when someone says, look, we have a concern that we may have some pay equity issues, and we can see that when we do compensation on the surface, we can kind of look and say, this doesn't look right. There's something going on. We immediately tell our clients to notify their labor attorney, who in turn contacts us. And then we become contracted via the labor attorney to do the more detailed study and provide a report. And that's very important.
Burt, why does that happen, Burt?
Yeah, the reason for that is to try to cloak the audit with attorney-client privilege. That this is something that the attorney is instructing be done at the company, and that way, if things are found, if there's litigation down the road, that hopefully we could shield the audit with attorney-client privilege.
Okay.
So it doesn't always work. But that is the theory behind it.
Gives you a chance. And if someone didn't have an in-house attorney on staff, from that standpoint, they could contact you, Burt, at Ogletree and say, hey, we would like to do this. And you have resources, whether you use AIM or other resources that you have available to help provide that audit.
That's exactly right.
Yeah,
that's right. In fact, we refer any AIM member who does not have a labor attorney that they can turn to when they request an audit, we always turn them back to AIM to use your resources. And that's very important.
Absolutely. All right. So, Mikey, there's one thought, I guess, when it comes into this, and I'd like to get you and Burt's opinion. So you do this audit, and here's the conversation that we don't always want to have in public. But we're going to do it today just a little bit, because I think it's very sensitive, but it's very real. And that is, and I'm just bringing up a conversation. I'm not sharing an opinion here. You have a male and a female worker, and the female worker is a mother who has responsibilities that the female or that the male worker doesn't have. Maybe the male worker doesn't have children. And the female worker needs to stop working at some point and go home and be a mother. Thank goodness. And we need mothers, and we need that for the betterment of society. But the male worker doesn't have to put the job on pause and works longer hours or more so on the weekend. And by outcome, the organization believes that the male worker produces more, and therefore wants to give more of an increase to the male worker or pay the male worker higher in the range for more performance. I'd just like to get Burt and your thought on that, because I do know I have had those conversations, and it's delicate, and they're always in quiet conversations.
Sure. And let me just jump. I'll just make a quick comment, and Burt, I'll let you, fill in. Basically, one of the things we find, you mentioned performance, but there's also the issue of experience in the position. So let's say that I'm a female worker who I have a break in my service, so to speak. I decided to stay home for a while, and now I want to come back into the workplace, into this position. So the male, of course, continued working, so they're probably more than likely going to move further into the range, and the female is coming in and has to catch up because they did have a break in experience, which is possible, and that can happen. On performance, one of the biggest issues, and Burt, I'm sure you know this, you've got to be very sure that how you're defining those expectations and how you're measuring, which after my 40 years of looking at it, I can tell you performance management systems are just deadly. I mean, because it's a human event. You've got a manager, a person making a judgment on another person. And that's where we
don't say person 3 times.
I'm sorry. Yeah, no. And we have to check for bias, right? Because if I'm a older male military manager, and I'm going to be real, kind of stereotypical, who doesn't think that the female can even do that type of a job very well, I may have already a bias as I'm doing. So human resources has to be very, very careful in auditing those performance reviews as well, to be sure they are not also tied to bias. So all of those things come together in that one scenario in terms of, are they performing? Is it an experience issue? Are they fulfilling the essential functions and the like? Because if they are, then it shouldn't matter that they were home for a while and they've come back to the workplace. Burt?
Yeah, excellent points, Mike. And I think that the hard part in all of this, and frankly, you're getting to the reason why we want this to be couched under attorney-client privilege, because we want to be able to have these discussions with the client to talk about these considerations and what should go into the performance evaluations and how to properly separate out and distinguish performance without the bias. And it's a really hard issue here. And I think what gets lost in a lot of the pay transparency and the equal pay discussion is frankly, it's the problem when any topic or any group of people is spoken about in terms of generalities. It takes away the decisions, the conscious decisions that people have made over the courses of their lives to either stay at home, raise a family, whether you're male or female, or stay at work and focus on your career, whether you're male or female. And it's one of those really tough discussions. I know we don't have time to get into it all today, but anytime you start speaking in terms of generalities and you look just at the identities of the people, like kind of talk about identity politics, and you say, well, it's not fair that person A is paid less than person B, you really do have to dig deeper and look at the reasons why there is the pay difference. And a lot goes into those decisions. And again, whether you're the female that chose to focus on the career versus staying at home, or you're a male that chose to focus on the career versus staying at home, that's any male, any female who chose to focus on their career, who made that conscious decision, that's where the pay discrepancy should not exist. They should be treated the same and evaluated the same and held to the same standards. By the same token, any male or female who chose to stay at home and get the rewards of raising the family, I don't think that they should be expected to be paid and compensated the same as the male or female employee who chose to focus on their career. And that's sort of a finer distinction there that really needs to be taken into consideration and brought into the discussion.
Yeah, I appreciate your guys' comments on that. It's obviously a delicate conversation. I do understand the need for an organization to have it if you're dealing with these issues with the right people and get the right guidance, because it allows you to challenge your own internal bias that might sit around your own board table. I know we're just a couple minutes past due. I want to just get a comment here. I think Jeannie was asking the question about, does Indeed have any artificial intelligence that they're using, because that's what she's doing. And I just know there is one thing for sure that Indeed does do, and that is posting salary ranges. If you don't post a salary range, I believe it uses AI to post a range that may have nothing to do with your pay range and creates all kinds of problems. So I think the answer is yes. And it's really difficult. And I know Indeed's doing that to drive, employers to post their range. Right. Yeah. So you want to keep an eye out for that for those of us who use Indeed. That's right. All right. So just as a reminder, Mikey will be on the AIM program here at June 20th, 8:30 to 10:30. It's building a total reward strategy and gaining leadership buy-in. If you are an HR professional or someone that needs to get the support of leadership, this is exactly the program for you to attend. We will talk about this along with many other things. It's going to be a great AIM event as always. Don't want to miss that. Mikey, thank you so much for joining us. Burt, thank you for that input. Great conversation today, guys. We'll be back here next Thursday at 7:30. We'll see you then. Happy holidays.
Thank you once again for tuning in to This Week at Work. If you enjoy the show, please share it with your colleagues. Forward our invites. Share the link aimea.org/thisweekatwork, or follow or subscribe wherever you get your news and entertainment, like LinkedIn, YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. We're everywhere you are. And you can be part of the show. Send your questions and comments anytime to info@thisweek.work. We'll see you next week, 7:30 a.m. Central Time, when we discuss what's happening this week at work.